Hey guys, welcome back into the channel. My name is Gary, and if you're new here, my wife Amy and I run an eBay store called Cougar's Corner, and we've been full-time resellers on eBay since 2023, and we sell mainly men's and women's clothing. The last few weeks, we've been putting out a what sold video on eBay just to give you guys some information on some of our better sales each week. Some items to be on the lookout for if you're out thrifting and putting in your own store, and just why we're picking up these items. So let's jump into it. Here's the best sales from last week. All right, guys. So last week, you can see here we sold 185 items for almost $5,900, $5,899. That's a little bit better than the week before. Hopefully, those numbers will continue to improve as we move into late winter and early spring. So here's the first item that I want to show you guys. This is a Polo Ralph Lauren merino wool sweater. We took an offer of $28 on this guy. The reason we picked this up is you can see that it's vintage. It's made in Hong Kong, and the tag down here does say that it's merino wool. I think we paid probably less than $10 for this. It did sit for quite a while. Just being the gray color, um, nothing great, and it did have a little mark here on the sleeve, but ultimately it did end up selling for $28 on an offer. Next item is these Lululemon pants. If you have Lululemon and it has this style tag on it, the little number, usually these are in a pocket. But if you do a Google search for the style code, usually they will have a W. Look for the L, and then it'll be a W or an M after that, and then it'll have these numbers and letters here all the way through the letter S. If you Google search that, it will give you the style name for your Lululemon pieces. So if I was doing this, I would just put in LW5C1 or IYS, and that'll give you the style code for these Lululemon pants. And they came back as the Manifesto high rise leggings. Putting that information in your title will really help your buyers be able to find this particular item. These were listed for a little while, but they did end up selling on an offer for $30. And I know we don't normally pay more than like 7 or 8 for Lululemon leggings. Sometimes the thrift has a hard time seeing the Lululemon leggings just because they are somewhat inconspicuous, but they are getting better at looking for the Lululemon logo. And again, you'll have to look for that style code, size dot in a pocket, typically. Next item is this Las Vegas Raiders fleece pullover. This was in a double XL. Normally, we do pick up a lot of sports stuff. This one was really nice piece. You can see it was almost in brand new condition. It was in a good size, 2XL. And honestly, the Raiders and some NFL teams have a pretty good following nationwide, so I'm usually pretty quick to pick these types of pieces up, knowing that they're not going to take too long to sell. We did sell this one for $26.99, which was asking price. We run a 10% sale on all of our items, but this one sold without any offers. So I would say things like the Raiders or the Cowboys and just other certain teams in the NFL have a nationwide following, and you'll do usually pretty good with those teams. Some of the smaller teams, may not do as well, but Raiders are definitely one that when I see them, I'll pick them up because they may sell all over the country. These Judy Blue shorts were new with tags, and they sold for $31.49. It took a little bit of time to sell these. We're not really in short season right now. It's January, but we are starting to go into spring, and so I expect to see more sales for things like shorts and short sleeve shirts and things like that to start to pick up. For Judy Blues, especially jeans and shorts, we're not paying a whole lot for them. They used to be really good sellers. And in new condition, I'd still pay $10 plus for a pair of shorts like this. But in used condition, you're just not going to be seeing, sale prices more than $20 typically. For a brand new pair of jeans, we recently at one of our thrift stores, there were like 12 pairs of brand new with tag jeans, and they were all $20, and we just left them because there just wasn't enough um, profit left over after a $20 buy cost. But for these shorts, I'm sure we didn't pay more than $10 for them. They took a little while to sell, but they were, nice bright pink color, and they did okay for us. This brand, Malign, is a really good hat brand to look out for. Normally, for hats, we're not selling anything more than $25, but this did end up selling for 33. I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't sell for more. We actually sold it once and it got returned. Um, this one does have a logo on the front, but this is the Malign logo, and you'll see this on the underside of the bill. If you see that, it's definitely worth picking up. Most of your thrift stores aren't going to know what these are, but normally these Malign hats can sell between $30 and $50. Some of them, if they're in brand new condition, can sell for $70 or $80. Um, I think I found this one along with a couple of new ones, and those new ones did sell pretty quickly for $70 and $80 a piece. We've never had a problem selling Malign hats. Always try to pick these up and just look for the logo like this. This Patagonia sweater sold for $30 on an offer. It took a little while to sell. Patagonia is still a great brand. We still pick it up. The only reason this one sat for a little while is just because it was a small size, but it was in really good shape. If you see these at the thrift, pick them up if they're priced appropriately, but also just take a look at the cuffs because a lot of wear can happen right there on the cuffs, and then also the elbows. You're going to want to be looking in this area over here on both sides just to see how much wear is on those elbows. Check all of your zippers, make sure everything works right, because if there's flaws on these, they're going to take even longer to sell. They can do really well if you price them right and if they're in a better size than, say, a small or extra small. This is another fleece that we sold this week. This one sold for $31.49. It's an Under Armour. Normally, your Under Armour quarter zips and your Cold Gear fleece stuff's not going to sell for that much. Every once in a while, you can get one to sell. This one did well because it is a 3 extra large. Normally, the bigger size stuff can do better. Um, and this one did sell fairly quickly, so it might just be a one off. I wouldn't pay much more than $7 or $8 for these Under Armour quarter zips anymore. There's just so many of them at the thrift store that, and they're just very saturated on eBay. But if you do find them and they're affordable, go ahead and pick them up, especially if they're in, very good, like new condition. Same thing applies. Check your cuffs, check all of your zippers, and make sure that there's no flaws on any of these. Again, the bigger sizes might do well just because there's a few less of those on eBay for folks to look for. Members Only is a good brand to pick up, especially leather jackets. This one Amy picked up just because it was kind of out there. It had an artist collaboration with it. We ended up selling this for $31.49. I didn't know a ton about it. We did a few quick comps, and that's really kind of where it came out at. It was only listed for probably about a month or so, and when the buyer picked this one up. But same thing applies, just making sure that there's no flaws or any issues with it. But it stood out, and I know we didn't give more than $10 for this one. But again, members only. Things like t-shirts or button-down shirts may not be worth picking up, but jackets, especially leather jackets, can do really well. This Vineyard Vines Performance Polo, it's brand new with tags, as you can see. This one sold for $38. It's got a green geometric print on it. This was part of a large Vineyard Vine outlet haul that we did, where we bought around 80 pieces of brand new Vineyard Vines with our buy cost of around $15 a piece. And so we've been selling a few of the polos that came in that haul. There's another one coming up. We've been selling all those for around the $40 mark, and this one sold for $38. This men's Coogee sweater sold for $35.99. It was a large size, 3XL, and it had these elbow patches on it. It is not as loud and bright as some of the Coogee stuff that you might find. So it's not going to command that same type of premium price that you would if it was more like a Cosby sweater or something like that. But it did have the Coogee embroidery on the front, and it had the elbow patches, which I think helped sell this one. It didn't take very long to sell, only a few weeks, and it was out the door pretty quick. This Ralph Lauren denim shirt, these always really sell well for us pretty quickly. We took a $38 offer on this one. It was listed for a few weeks, but honestly, it probably would have sold at full price. We just like getting them in and getting them out as fast as we can. This was a size large. Anytime you find the Ralph Lauren denim shirts like this, I think they're worth a pickup. In fact, I just took pictures of another one today that'll be going live here in the next week or so. These Tommy Bahama silk pants were brand new, and we took an offer of $40 on them. They took a little while to sell. They just looked pretty plain. Nothing fantastic about them, but they were new with tags. You can see they had $135 um, MSRP on them. Anytime you have the new with tag stuff, if it has the um, style name, it's always worth putting that style name in your title just so somebody who's looking for that particular piece can find it. These were called the Flying Fishbone, and you can see in our title up here we had the Flying Fishbone listed on the title. So I think that does help people find your item, especially if they're searching by that style name. This Barber shirt sold for, I want to say it was $45 on an offer. It's also new with tags. We still had a lot of new with tag stuff sell this week. It was kind of a green and blue plaid color. It was a long sleeve button down. This one didn't last very long. Amy found this one on one of her thrift store finds. Um, Good brand to be on the lookout for. Coats and jackets can do really well. Shirts can do okay in used condition as long as there's no major flaws or anything like that. So check out this brand. If you're not sure, look up comps while you're in the store, and you can get an idea as to how much to pay for one of these. I know that the thrift store that we stop at for where we found this shirt doesn't price stuff much more than $10, and I think that's what this one was 10. This Purdue Boilermakers Peter Millar polo shirt sold for $44.99. Anytime we get an NCAA team with Peter Millar, we usually pick that up. And this one sold really well for us. It was just a gray, it doesn't hardly show up on our gray background, but it still sells for $45. Brand new, these things can run for 100 plus. And there's always somebody from that school, a fan of the school that's looking for nicer items that come from people like Peter Millar, Johnny O, Roback, things like that. They all have an NCAA collection. And if you find those items, even if they have the um, college logo on them, they're worth picking up because they can sell really well. And this one um, just was another example of that. So Purdue Boilermakers, Peter Millar, $45. Here's another Vineyard Vines brand new polo. This one's a 2XL. This was all white. It was part of our Vineyard Vines haul that we got. All of these were $15 a piece. We still have a couple of these available. This was the first one of 3 that we had in this size. This one sold for $44.99, so not too bad to flip 15 into 45. And with the other 70 some pieces that we've got left, we'll do pretty well with that Vineyard Vines haul. This is a vintage Harris Tweed sport coat blazer. You can look for these in the thrift store. They're going to sell anywhere between $50 and $70, maybe even more, depending on some of the features that they have. You can tell the Harris Tweed by this tag. It'll usually be on the inside flap. And so whenever I'm at the thrift, I'll take a quick look through all the jackets, and normally I'll pick up Harris Tweed if there's no flaws or anything like that with them. This one got returned once before, and then it resold, I think, within a day or so. It might have actually sold the same day I got it back on the return and resold. We did take an offer of $50 on this one, but normally they'll have, it'll be kind of this brownish color. Um, and I'll kind of give you a look at the pattern here. A lot of them will have like the leather buttons and just the herringbone or kind of the striped patterns to them. And so if you see those at the thrift, look at those up. Here's a tag to kind of keep a lookout for. Harris Tweed. It's just a Scottish wool. These are good pickups when you find them. We sold another Dixxon this last week. In fact, I think we sold 4 or 5 more Dixxons this week. Um, if you didn't watch my last video, we talked about our Dixxon haul that we got back last summer where we bought 200 3 and 4XL Dixxons from a collector here in our local area for $15 a piece. This one we took an offer of 50 on. It was one of the 4X red plaids. And just a couple things to note when it comes to Dixxons is you want to look for this tag on the inside of the collar just to see they'll all be branded or themed. This one is called the Old Port. You'll want to use that in your title if you see them. A lot of times Dixxons will be buttoned down, but this one had the pearl snaps. You can see here it had the red pearl snaps. Just look at all the stitching. There are a few fakes that are out there, and you can tell those. The stitching will be bad. The quality won't feel very good. The Dixxon flannel shirts that are legit are very heavy, very good feeling. You know, you can tell their quality when you pick them up. And also the buttons on the Dixxons will have a lot of times it'll just say Dixxon flannel. It may also have the name of the shirt. Here you can see it says Old Port. And then also check your tags on the inside. But Dixxon is a great brand for us. We've sold a ton of these over the last several months. I think out of the 200 that we got in that haul, we're down to like the last 20 of them or so. Um, 3 and 4XLs may take a little bit longer to sell, but we've had good luck with them. Even up to some of the bigger sizes, we've sold a few 5X Dixxons that we have found recently as well. So don't hesitate to pick them up. Just make sure they're legit when you do find them. We sold another Vineyard Vines new tags. I feel like that's a theme in this episode. This one is a youth sweater. I don't know if we knew it was a youth sweater at the time we picked it up. We sat on this thing for a really long time. I really overpriced it. We probably had this thing for 2 years, slowly taking the price down. We did get an offer of $30 and we accepted that. So um, again, it's just one of those that if you don't price things correctly, your items are going to sit. Um, and so it's worthwhile just to take some of your old stock and really make sure that your pricing is still in line with what the market is showing. So with this one, we would have sold it a lot sooner had we just priced it correctly. These Carhartt double knee pants, I found 2 of these. We sold one a few weeks ago, and we sold the last one that we had this last week. We took a $55 offer on these. They're not much to look at, but anytime you have Carhartt pants that are, let me see if I can find the tag here. These were made in the USA. They've got the double knee, they've got the carpenter hammer hook on them. We'll get a better picture of these double knees. Here you can see some of the extra stitching that comes around on the front of the legs. So these are really made for heavy use, crawling around, whether it's, a painter, anybody who's working outside, um, really like these style of pants. And then also they're just really in style. People just like the baggy look of the pants and just the heavy utility weight of them. So anytime you find Carhartt, especially with the double knees, definitely take a look. If you're not sure, you can look up this code right here, this UB04, and that will, if you Google search that, that'll give you what the um, style code is for Carhartt. When I do that, they come back to the double knee drill painter pants. So look up Carhartt pants. Not all Carhartt is great. Old coats, definitely. Things like t-shirts and button-down shirts, don't overpay for those. Things like this, though, definitely worth a look up. Anything made in the USA, definitely worth a look up. This vintage Mercury racing jacket sold for $58.49. I found this at the thrift store for about $12. It's kind of an old zip up jacket. Here's the tag on the inside. One thing I noticed when I picked it up is it said it was made in the USA. It's always a good indicator that it's a vintage item, um, something to just be on the lookout for. Here you can see it's got the logo on the front of the jacket. I'm not exactly sure. Mercury Racing, maybe boating or something like that. You guys let me know down in the comments if Mercury Racing is. I think it's a boat motor. So, but anyway, this jacket looked like it was from the '80s, and I picked it up, and it didn't take very long to sell. There wasn't a lot of comps on eBay at the time, and so we felt like taking a stab at this price was pretty good. And so it did. It sold for 58.49. And the last item I've got for you this week is this Caterpillar heavyweight parka. We had a huge haul of these Caterpillar coats and parkas last February. We got them into the store right around March. And unfortunately, they did sit for a little while through spring and summer, but we just knew that once we started getting into fall that we'd start selling them. I think we ended up with like 40 or 50 of these coats, and we're down to about the last 10 or so. They've been really good sellers. We've sold all of them for around the $70 to $80 mark. This one sold for 75, and we've done really well with them. Um, I would not hesitate to pick up a Caterpillar coat if you can get it for the right price if it's used. These were all new, and I mean, I don't see these at the thrift store very much. We got these from a contact that we had locally, and I would say just if you do find them used, just make sure that you check all the zippers and the pockets and make sure there's no rips, tears, that all your zippers work, because they're intended to be used outdoors and out, in the field, whether you're working with heavy machinery or wherever you're working outdoors, are going to take some abuse. So just make sure if you do see them in the thrift, they're worth picking up as long as they've got everything in working condition and working order. So, guys, that's what we sold this last week. Like I said, hopefully, as spring continues to arrive through February, sales will start to pick up. Thanks, guys. That's what we've got for you this week, and we'll see you next time.